when things are on the line and you got to make that pressure lift or talk or sale or whatever it might be, like you get used to it because you got so many reps in the bank that have counted.
I've been very happy with a lot of the decisions I have made, because I'm a big analyzer, thinker, fact finder. So before I go firm on a deal, like I know this is something I want to hold for 10 or 15 years.
Between fitness and business or life is intensity. A lot of people don't realize the importance of intensity, like giving something your absolute all.
For sure.
You're either fully on or you should be actually more off, right?
In this episode of Estates, Entrepreneurs, and Espressos, we delve into the power of building systems, assembling great teams, and succeeding in the real estate investing space and beyond that in health and business. We interview Kory MacKinnon, a former corporate chainer turned real estate mogul. He shares his journey from initial hesitation to early retirement through strategic investment and robust systems. We have a great cup of coffee at a fantastic shop in Sarnia. We tour the city, talk about his investments and his background. We had a great time. Make sure to hit like and subscribe and let us know who you are and where you're from. And if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast on any of the platforms, leave us a rating or review. We will pull names of people who leave comments on these videos on YouTube or reviews on the audio podcast once a month and draw prizes and send you gifts of knowledge. So make sure to let us know who you are and that you're part of the Prime Nation. Enjoy the show. Set the stage with some healthy snacks too, and shout out to this. So we're actually obviously going to talk about financial literacy today too, and Tony's first book on money was super smart. I actually just saw him on a podcast with who was he talking to? Well, maybe George Janko about this next book as well too, right? So
Yeah, he's got 3 out now, so it's like the trilogy.
yeah, it's awesome. So what's the story with this building, like this whole complex?
Yeah, it was built actually the year I was born, so 75. And I remember names used to all be like kind of like what's gonna afford houses or
Sure.
single.
Living in the complex.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then they started cleaning them all up and they got condoed. And my wife actually bought that one over there, number 13, as her first house when she moved out.
Oh wow.
It's a rental now. And then we picked up these other 2 here. They're actually 2 separate condo forps.
So you have 3 in the complex now. Did she keep hers or did she sell it? Yeah, smart.
3-bedroom units.
Buying the one next door, and my realtor was like, if you can have this thing furnished
Yeah.
in 5 days, we have a client that'll pay you twice as much
Why?
regular rent, right?
Just timing?
Yeah, just
Wow.
it was an engineer, Golder Engineering came in,
Okay.
and they needed a place. So I've had this one empty for a few months, and I'm just like, I need a place sometimes, just get away,
Sure.
get some work done.
Yeah.
It's-
Give us a tour of this unit, and then I'm super curious about what they rent for.
Sure, man. So yeah, these are 3-bedroom townhouses here. You got your kitchen,
Yeah.
kind of living room, dining room all on the first floor.
Sweet.
And again, they're about 45 years old. Condo rules, you have to have white curtains facing out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very specific.
Yeah, they're very rule focused here when it comes to
How's the condo board?
the condo board.
Yeah.
For sure.
Have you ever been involved in a condo board?
I have, just because of all these units that we own, right? So
For sure. Yeah.
that's the new mattress that we just threw in. So these are furnished rentals, right? We typically rent them out medium term,
Okay.
so 1 month or more. And
What's the story with the mattress in a box?
yeah, so Douglas, I'm a big nerd when it comes to like researching things. So Canadian company, 20-year warranty, which is crazy. And then
Yeah.
you can actually have this mattress here for a full year, less a day, and say you don't like it, and they'll take it back.
Wow.
All that kind of stuff, right? So
That's
it ships
incredible.
to you, you just unbox it. And
The packing of mattresses these days is wild, right?
yeah, man, it's super comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? And
Huh.
pretty reasonably priced. Like you can get really cheap stuff off Amazon for like $300, but
Wow, that's incredible.
yeah, so
Yeah, it's actually solid. What's a Douglas?
this was like $7.99. It came with pillows and sheets and all that kind of stuff.
20-year warranty.
Yeah, I don't know what it's gonna look like in 20 years.
We'll
but
find out.
Yeah,
We'll do
so-
another video in 20 years, and then we'll show you what it looks like.
That's right. So
Maybe
this-
not.
Yeah, this is the master, and then we got a couple bedrooms here off to the side here too. So I think
Cool.
sometimes we use it as a crash pad for the kids, so they were in here. But
Yeah.
so fully furnished, this one would rent for $2,500 to $3,000,
Okay.
and just regular non-furnished rental, you're probably like $2,000, right? So
Sweet.
we've had it furnished for 7-8 years now,
Yeah.
and
Much easier to rent furnished.
at least
Yeah.
for what we do with all the feasibility groups that were coming to Sarnia the past couple of years for all the plant expansions and everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's part of your strategy too, is identifying like these are the types of people that we want because they're coming in getting good jobs that are.
That's right. Like for example, we rented next door to Golder Engineering for 2 years one time, right? So they just wanted, because they didn't want to be living in hotels, and they were maybe only here half the time, but it was just way more convenient. They could cook their food, they could have a mailing address, all those different things.
Do you work with the companies directly, like any of their HR people, so that when they're doing placements, they just contact you directly?
Sometimes. Yeah, I'll work with placement companies. I mean, we're always advertising for it, and there's like some agents in town that are kind of known as like
leasing people for them.
Yeah, we'll help relocate the people who are looking for these kinds of deals.
Smart business model. I like it.
So
I'll help you with the lights.
Yeah, no worries, man.
We'll head to the coffee shop. She's like, I actually need you to respond aggressively and like kind of put them in her place, because she says they think the market's collapsing. How are you?
Hey.
Good. I'm gonna have a coffee and he's gonna have whatever he wants as well.
I will probably just get a decaf double espresso. Yeah. Actually, you know what? Decaf Americano. Yeah.
Of all the things that you're doing, so you do the education piece, you obviously buy properties. Of the portfolio that you have now, are you still actively investing quite a bit into real estate?
Yeah, I've kind of cooled it off. Like during COVID, our coaching company exploded. Like literally, it was kind of like everybody wanted to, I'm sure you guys saw this too, everybody wanted to find out about real estate. It was kind of like Bitcoin.
Sure.
Over the past year, it has settled down, which has been a good break and welcome break. We can retool and make, redo our programs and our content and stuff like that. Still looking to buy. I think it's just like, it's got to be the right deal.
Yeah.
Haven't bought anything in about a year.
What's a deal to you? Like when you look at the state of the marketplace, first it was BRRRRs, some people do flip, a lot of people like apartments and land development like we were just talking about. Like where's your investor radar paying attention to for deals right now?
I like multifamily. I picked up a good deal during COVID, a 7-plex on Beecher Street, so that was a good deal. Bought a storage facility as well. That's about 1.5 years ago, and that was about at a 6 cap, and now we pushed up to an 8 cap just by doing rent raises, which was nice. And if I can't find things that I want to buy right now, I'm cool to just renovate units, lift values, internally.
Yeah.
Right. Like with the storage facility, we can actually double the size of the facility. I got a 10-acre, plot of land. I can actually start pushing the starting line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So optimize the asset, right?
Yeah.
Because where do you think? I guess one question I did have for you is like, what was one of the biggest mistakes that you learned from as an investor while you were building your portfolio?
Biggest mistake. I've been very happy with a lot of the decisions I have made, because I'm a big analyzer, thinker, fact finder. So before I go firm on a deal, like I know this is something I want to hold for 10 or 15 years, 20 years, give it to my kids, whatever. Bought a rougher property in the south end of Sarnia.
Sure.
Which, inherited all the tenants and stuff like that. It just, we're going to be probably exiting that property. It's just not, I'm used to dealing with like homeowners in training, right? So when they're just, it's hard to manage crazy is what I tell people. So it's a C asset. Yeah. Or definitely C tenants. And that's just not what I like to play in.
Professional tenants, right? Where it's like all of a sudden you're getting dragged into something that you're like, it's great when you're looking at an asset and you're optimizing, trying to create a good place for people to live. But at the same time, your time's pretty valuable. So dealing with putting out wires nonstop end up being like, it's not.
Yeah, and we insource all of our property management. I got an assistant and we manage some properties for other people. But we want them to also be a good use of our time. So we don't want to be wasting our time on how to deal with properties, problem renovations, problem tenants, problem locations, we name it.
Had you dealt with property managers before you insourced it?
I definitely interviewed a lot of them. I just wasn't happy about the options out there.
Yeah.
Right. And it's with my background in HR, so I had 17 years of HR, screening, vetting, all that sort of stuff. And when you have a good funnel for your tenants, right? Cast a wide net, and then you screen them down over time. And I have other people doing all that, and I just say, look.
Did you build the systems for them? Like, hey, these are the questions I have. This is it.
Yep. These are the questions we're going to have. This is how we post the ads. This is we're going to.
And you did that yourself too for the beginning, or was it just out of the gate you just build a system?
No, I'm pretty hands-on. So in the beginning, I like to get in the trenches, do the thing, learn it, optimize it, and then go, okay, let's white paper it out so someone else can do it.
Yeah.
So I just come in when it's they've got their top 3 candidates. I'm like, okay, let's workshop this for 15 minutes, and then I can kind of play it forward and go, okay, this one may not work for that. This one might not work. Okay, I think this is the ideal client. You know.
And the reason I asked that question as a leading question was I've dealt with so many property management companies as partners to Prime. I mean, 20 or probably 30 over the different markets that we cover in our territory.
Yep.
They all follow a very similar pattern where they start off as somebody who's gung-ho, they're going to create this amazing company, provide this exceptional level of service, and they do that usually in the beginning, and then they grow really fast, and then they drop off very quickly in terms of quality and deliverables.
That's right.
And I have a couple that are absolutely phenomenal we still deal with and send business to, but they're relational where it almost feels like they're insourced within how they operate and they don't take on too many clients. They're very specific to their processes. I do think insourcing, the reason I think that's an important conversation is this translates to if you own a real estate company or if somebody's watching this and they own a digital media company, like learn to do the thing, create the actual SOP,
Yes.
videotape yourself doing it, and then give it to somebody to do, and then have that accountability process on the actual process. I think that's really important, right?
Yeah, and property management, it's a hard business to make money at.
It is,
right?
yeah.
And it's like you got to have a couple hundred doors to make money at it, and at that point, you're not giving the service that kind of deserves, right?
Yeah.
Or like I don't have high-rise buildings, so we can't just have a 100-unit building and put, one property on-site property manager in there.
And if you had a building, you'd probably be smart enough to then take one tenant and make him the superintendent so that he's actually in the building, and when there's a call, he's going to deal with it, right?
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah. So it can be a challenge. I understand a lot of real estate investors' pain when they get a property manager in there and they want to make a monthly paycheck, and their performance is always going to be judged on if the unit's empty or whatever. So they fill the unit, don't always fill it with the best person.
Yeah.
So there's a spectrum, right? Like you said, some good people, and sometimes people have to go through the gauntlet to see the good, bad, and the ugly and you get what you pay for too. Like you're trying to get cheap, fast, or high quality, like you can't get all 3.
What's the saying? They say cheap, fast, or good. They want it cheap, they want it fast, and they want good quality too, right?
Yeah, you can usually have 2.
You can usually only take one of the 2 things. Yeah. So actually, one thing on the investment side, I do want to talk about the ed tech. Current landscape, everybody's terrified to invest because of the landlord-tenant board issues. So tenants in GTA specifically are holding landlords hostage, and they're reading horror stories of, you got to pay me $50,000. I'm just not going to pay you rent because I can't get to the LTV for 12 to 18 months now in some instances, right? What's your thoughts on that whole dynamic?
It is unfortunate. I don't like where Ontario's going, even though they say that they've hired so many more staff members and everything else at landlord. I'm not seeing the results of that improving at all. So, fortunately, knock on wood, where's some wood here? I've only had to tribunal 3 times.
Yeah.
It's always been a slam dunk case of like, yep, it's
They're not paying.
in favor of the landlord, and we get the rent. I had to garnish somebody's wages one time. So it's good to know for people listening to this video, like make sure you always know where your tenant is working at and have tenants that have a job. But that's why I do some more medium-term rental, right? Furnished rental, because then you bypass all that sort of stuff. And they're here for a reason, a season, the story checks out, they're professionals, and they have a place to go afterwards, right? So we don't really have to worry about that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we see a lot of the executive rentals that find good employment, and they, like you said, they don't want to deal with short-term or STRs or hotels, and I don't want to as well too, right? It's providing a unique solution. And then translating to the ed tech side of things, the investor community, where did you see the opportunity for what your company fills in terms of your niche?
I mean, I saw the opportunity. I guess I started getting into some medium-term rental like 7-8 years ago. Actually 8 or 9 years ago now. So there's a lot of people jumping into it right now because their Airbnb is not working, but I've got so many more years of experience on them. I didn't want to be in the short-term rental game, so I didn't want to be in the cleaning game, the messaging game, the handyman fix-it game. I don't mind re-renting my unit 4 to 6 times a year.
It's good enough.
You bring the cleaner in, you turn it over, you do a bit of laundry, you do the inventory, you're back in business.
It's kind of good too because you get to keep your eye on it. Like when you don't look at your unit for a year or 2, 3 years, you come in and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened here?
I know.
It almost forces you to do that.
You do, right? And if the tenant's not the best tenant in the world, at least they're moving on in X number of months, right? And the worst thing that we've ever had is maybe they take some towels or some Tupperware, some utensils or whatever. It's all
Yeah.
small fry kind of stuff. Or if you think the unit a little bit dirtier, the cleaner just spends a little bit more time there. So not
Factored into your pro forma somewhere, I'm sure, if you're
Yeah.
that analytical.
And just like Airbnb, they prepay for their cleaning. So it's like, this is just for a basic turnover. If you leave the place a total disaster, you're paying a double or triple clean.
Yeah.
Right. So, no, I like it more. And so it's kind of balanced. About 15-20% of our portfolio is medium term.
Okay.
And then the rest of it's just higher quality. Like we got places downtown London,
Yep.
Old North London, Wortley Village. So we can kind of pick and choose who we want for our clientele there.
And those owners, I do find, like, treat it like they own the place, right? A lot of times,
they're homeowners
higher
in trade.
quality rentals, because if you give them a great product too, they're expecting it, they're paying for it, but they're also treating it like they actually own the place too, right?
That's right. That's right.
Given Ontario's landscape, where do you think the investment market's going? Obviously, investors will jump from asset class to asset class and chase whatever's hot. Where do you think the opportunity is going?
Well, home ownership in general, I think is just getting out of reach for more and more, let's call them millennials, right? So they're going to be more comfortable for renting for a long time. And, I don't think that owning a house is a right. It's definitely a privilege, and you got to build up that down payment. I know I didn't get my first property until I was 30.
Yep.
Right? I kept all my profits and income in the company I was working in, and I was making a 10% profit, which was okay.
Sure.
Right? But then once I bought the first one, I started scaling from there. It is going to be more and more expensive. I think that multi-unit living is going to be kind of like the way that most people get into maybe their first rental.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with a realtor in London, and he works with a builder.
Sure.
He was saying that they used to build like houses with in-law suites in the basement or duplexes, and now it's like triplexes. Like he's like, my builder's building 20 of these this year.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be the way that people kind of got to get into the game with the mortgage helper factor to help them qualify for their mortgages, right? So
Sure.
that's how I got in. I bought a sixplex and I lived there back in the day.
Yeah.
I think it's actually a smart way. They actually learn how to live cheaper, and it's a very European way too. You go over to Europe, it's very multi-generational, multi-families, legit your own family though, like the grandmas, the aunts and uncles or whatever, and then the them kids on the main floor. So
I do. So we actually are launching a site now, 5 homes, upper price point range, but they come with elevators. It's actually you walk right into the main level. The basement's completely finished as an independent condo unit, it feels like, for basically the parents. And then the elevator's there so that when your grandma's living downstairs, she's probably babysitting, she's probably cooking food for you, and she's gonna wanna come upstairs and be with the family.
Yeah.
And we're also seeing on the commercial side, they're actually building facilities for seniors to have activities to do throughout the daytime. So like think of a senior center,
Yes.
but not an actual home, because they go home to stay with their family. And we're starting to see Asian,
they need
Indian,
community, they
European,
need places
Greek,
to go.
Italian, right? Like wanting that, which is super, super interesting to see.
definitely. No, I was just talking about my mother-in-law the other day, and she's 80, mid 80s.
Yeah.
A lot of her friends have passed away or are too sick to do anything, so she just wants a place she can go to for community and talk and chat. But she's still independent. She still lives in her own home.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a nice thing, because I think we also went through phases where your kid leaves school, goes to Toronto, because they want to get away from parents, right? Live in the big city. And then they're like, I'm going to live in the city and make my career here. And then they come home 7 years later, call us. And they're like, hey, can you hook me up with an agent in Toronto? Okay, I'm coming back to London, or I'm going back to Sarnia, and sell us a house here. And then eventually they want to go back to the family unit. Europeans have done a great job in maintaining the family as a really big part of what their aspirations are. Here, it's get away from your family. It's nice to see it kind of coming back to that level, right?
So I think multi-generational living, I think even like they've got these almost like senior student houses that I've seen down in the States, right? Where
2 or 3 of them get together. And
or even like 6 or 8 in a house. They'll chop up a big house. Everybody's kind of got their own room. They got common areas. It's not like a home, but it's like, you're renting a room, you're saving money, you're probably on a pension.
Similar hobbies, probably similar interests. Jibber jab about the same things that you like, right? We talk politics or whatever, and
they call them sober living houses, but they can adapt that to seniors pretty easily.
Yeah.
And then also just smaller units, right? People don't need all this extra space. I'm sure you're listing houses all the time where it's like, this was built in the 70s, 80s, 90s when it was a lot easier to build bigger houses. Now people are looking for that more compact footprint. Even modular living where beds will go up in the ceiling and walls can move and things like that, right? So it's
in
more
primary
expensive,
markets, for
but
sure. You definitely see that, right?
it'll happen.
Actually, if you go back 100 years, houses were tiny because nobody was ever home, because you were working all day.
True.
You were at the farm. Literally, home was just a place to sleep. It wasn't really even that comfortable. And then it went to exactly what you said, these sprawling houses where your whole life is in the house. Now you're seeing everything went back to open concept. Now people need some space to work and have offices.
Yeah.
Puck is always moving. I always think it's interesting to see the products that they're bringing.
It is. But with the cost of building, I think properties are going to need to get smaller. And owning a storage facility, I see the need for people to have storage. They don't have a big garage or whatever. It's like, yeah, go rent a unit for $100, $150 a month. Store your snow tires, all your stuff in there, your seasonal decor, decorations, whatever.
Yeah.
People are not getting less materialistic, that's for sure. So that's why I really
We
like
have
storage.
too much stuff. When I see it, like, I laugh because I'm like, I have a shed, I have a garage, I have a basement, and I still have too much crap.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so and I like that sector because, man, if someone doesn't pay their rent, we literally send them emails, text messages, we send them a registered letter.
Sure.
Give them a final notice, and if they haven't paid, like, we just use this auction website, Bid 13. We cut the lock, film the unit, close it, put the tag on it, and it goes up on the website. Yeah, within 5-10 days. They have to clean out the unit, or else they become the tenant.
Oh, wow.
You know, and so they leave a broom swept clean, and then we're back in business again, re-renting, right? So.
No, I think being diversified is smart too. So you're basically 3 different types of assets, essentially, right? You have a medium, you have the storage facilities, and then you have the higher end rentals, right?
Yeah. And we're also getting into a little bit of development. So like I said, we've got 10 acres of land. If you know Sarnia, it's basically Cathcart and Maudlin Road, so great area, 1 block from the lake. It needs some remediation though, it's brownfield. So we're gonna start working on that now this year that all my kids are in school. And we've got a church that we're gonna convert into 29 units.
Nice.
So that's pretty cool too. So the opportunities are out there, and there's pain in the market. I think this is gonna be going on for a couple of years now, because really people are holding on as long as they can. Yeah. And slowly some people are popping, they can't, because they're not used to making active income, right? So even though I've been an investor, I've always had active income sources, right? And some people are wondering, like, why do you coach, or why do you do this consulting? Or I'm like, because you always have to have money coming in, right? You can't just try to live off the rentals.
And you have to work hard, right? So 2 things I want to say, Nico. I'm going to have you clip in an image of Shlomo Chop on Twitter. Just ask me about it. I'll give you the image. CMBS guy out in New York City, phenomenal real estate agent in the commercial side, and he said, like, basically interest rates are not going to save people. Like, everybody's waiting for them to drop, and my response to him on that post was, if you're waiting for the interest rates to drop, you're already dead. Like, if you think that's going to be the savior, then your business model doesn't make sense to begin with. And to your point, what you just brought up, that I think is super important, is you have to work hard. And the markets that we were in, like the bull markets, and this is beyond real estate, venture capital, SaaS companies, all 90% margin businesses, which is not normal and not healthy. Like, a good business is a 30-40% margin business where you can at least look at a 10 or 20 year life cycle and project where things are. 80-90% businesses are getting leveled across all asset classes too. And I think if you can go back to looking at what is my focus diversification, where in your instance, it would be education technologies, it'd be a couple different asset classes. Now on the development side, they're going to cross-pollinate. That's actually one of the secrets to what we did at Prime, was we looked at, well, if all I do is new home construction and that drives up, we're dead. And my wife was the one, actually, to her credit, that was like, no, like, we're a company that does real estate. We do residential, commercial investment, new development, recreational properties. Because the guy that opens up a 30,000 square foot office is going to need to buy a $2 million house, and then he's probably going to invest in real estate and maybe wants to college. And like, we see it from high level perspective that it does cross pollinate all the time too. And
with the size of your brokerage, you have specialists that can cater to everybody, right? Which is awesome, as opposed to if you're the only person, you're like, well, I'm kind of good at this. You know, maybe the wife does regular retail, you do multifamily, you're still missing.
There's gaps. And also, like, when the bull market happened, we had the opportunity to open up 1 million offices, hire 1 million agents who could probably be at 200 and wanted to, based on the applications we get. And she was smart. She's like, what are we good at? Like, we're good at media, we're good at connecting people and providing value, like high ticket value. And she's like, if we do that, great, but our margins drop. Sure, visibly we look like we're massive, but she's like, well, probably actually making less money and not providing as much service, because you can't maintain quality to the level we're doing it across 200-300 people. You're a logo essentially, and it's whoever's servicing the person, right? So
do you want to have a team of Navy SEALs working with you, or do you want to have just a general army, right? There's pros and cons of each. But if you're going to go try to, rescue the the person in the foreign country that needs specialists, man, I'd rather go with the Navy SEAL team.
So I don't know if you've seen our content, but we've said Navy SEAL on a million episodes because our structure is built on it. So the comparison I always make is we have our snipers, our medics, we have our demo teams, we have our tech guys. So say on the commercial side, you're like, hey, Amazon just moved in. I'm interested in developing that 120 acres that came up. That's the team that we're deploying. The strategy and the vision still comes from the ownership, but literally that's our model, right?
Yep.
So I was smiling when you said that because I'm like, literally that's how we think about it.
Yeah, no, that's what we've been looking at the last year, just retooling things in my business as well. And it's, sometimes when you grow fast, like you're building the rocket ship as you're flying it, but this has been a good time to go, no, let's actually take a look at the bigger picture and only go forward with the Navy SEAL team.
With Nico sitting there on the production side too, like our production company, we started getting all these jobs and we were like too busy to do content for our main channels, which we stopped because we're like, no, the goal is Prime is most trusted name in real estate. I'll help people on this channel, real estate agents, entrepreneurs, creators, right? Make more money, feel less overwhelmed. Let's go back to that. Now that we actually stepped back, we actually have the ability to expand on the production side because, again, you go slow to go fast. And I think that's where you definitely have a methodical approach to how you look at things, which isn't just, great opportunity, things are great. How could it possibly go wrong? It's like you do analyze it.
Yeah, sometimes I literally have a spreadsheet. It's called the decision-making matrix. So I kind of, let's say if there's 3 to 5 really important things in a decision, I'll map them out and go, okay, what are the different options within all the different options? And say, okay, this is the best option for this piece of it. This is the best option for this piece of it. And then you'll triangulate in what the best decision is. And you don't need to have all the information to make a decision. Like Colin Powell says, you need about 70% of the information.
Sure.
So many people are seeking 100%. You'll never get all the information. But some people make a decision with 30% of the information. That's dangerous.
But then some people get 100% information and never make a decision.
That's right, never do anything with it.
Paralysis by analysis.
Big time.
All right, let's hop in the car. Let's tour around Sarnia. Where do you think Sarnia's at in terms of an overall market?
Sarnia's always been like a great place to raise kids, retire in. It's not really a booming, growing city like London is. It's good to see London growing, but I think just slow and steady. Still very affordable to buy properties here. I mean, if you have $500,000, you can get yourself $500,000-$600,000. You can get into a nicer home. But this is all like central Sarnia. These are all more like wartime homes. But once you go north of London Road or Exmouth, you're in the north end. Like those condos that we started off at, those are north end.
Well, one of my most successful videos on my YouTube channel is my full tour of Sarnia.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we still get quite a bit of business off it too, which is fun.
It's pretty cool to just watch the evergreen content, right? And just like, I've got one video where I did it on Rich Dad Poor Dad has a board game called Cash Flow Quadrant.
Yeah. He has one Cash Flow for kids too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I still get hundreds of views every week off of it. I'm like, well, maybe I should do a long form video about this, explaining it. I don't know. People are actually searching it and finding it. So
yeah, it's funny. One of my most viral videos was investing in London, Ontario. Is that 15,000 or 16,000 views now? But it's more than that. It's the phone calls that I actually get off of it still. Off that channel. That's and I did it back in the day when we were going through a transitional period of regulation around investment properties, and nobody knew what was happening. Agents were selling unlicensed property as licensed, or promising that if you buy a licensed property, you're good to go, which wasn't the case. Because they actually changed the rule where if you bought something that was licensed as a rental, it had to be re-inspected immediately because they were trying to catch up on poorly inspected properties. Right?
Yes.
So it's an education game for sure.
Well, even though the licensing in London, it's kind of make sure the rooms are a certain size, make sure there's no broken windows, you got fire separation, you got handrails going down.
Height clearances, egress, exits.
Yeah, it's pretty basic. It's basically just don't be a slumlord. Just do the right thing.
Yeah.
Don't rent a closet out as a bedroom.
I remember when I moved to London, it definitely was not like the case at all. Then when I left London and then moved to Lambton Shores, it gave you a different perspective because there's different rules everywhere you go, right? It's St. Thomas is rolling out the red carpet for investment. And obviously institutional investment.
A lot of great stuff happening in St. Thomas. I'm excited for what the VW plant's going to do down there and everything else. It's going to
change the landscape of it.
Just the number, I'm trying to remember how many acres it's going to be, like hundreds of acres of land.
So it's they just doubled the size of it as well too. So the city of St. Thomas, yeah.
Wow.
Long story short, the Amazon purchased their land, and then I know what they paid obviously per acre per land for that. Built it. They kept hundreds of acres there, and then VW came in, bought double that, and then they bought double it because they made the investment.
Yeah.
Now farms are selling $350 an acre.
Wow.
For similar land around that, and well, once gets sold at $350 an acre, guess what? The next guy's trying to get $450 an acre, right? Well,
Wow.
no.
That is nuts. And then 5 years ago, I bought that 10-acre lot for $26,000 an acre. So.
And my in-laws bought a farm for $8,000 an acre. I told them I'd pay them 10, but they're not selling it.
Yeah.
Yeah, our farms division's been taken off lately because I got a cash crop advisor on staff, grass-fed beef farmers. I have like 4 or 5 absolute wizards at farms, and we have a deep background in it as well, right? Just because the Grogan's always connected to a lot of farmers. They sold more F-150s to farmers than probably
Totally.
anybody in Canada. And super interesting asset class, and like we'll have the actual dairy guys that want to buy operations. We have actual farmers that want to buy stuff, but it also trickles into the developers. Like those are the 2 main people who are looking at the land that we find for them.
Yeah, they got to work with each other to get deals done.
And then we get to work with municipalities, and it's interesting because I see all kinds of different stuff with how municipalities look at development, official plans, what the landscape of their cities are going to look like. Some are open to it, some aren't. Right. I find the ones that are transparent and give you a roadmap to make it easy of saying, hey, this is what we like to do, and you can work with them. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's so important to be in areas that are easy to work with. So yeah, I just gotta grab the keys from the mailbox. Ended up being on a couple extra sales calls today that came in. People are ready to buy high ticket stuff. We gotta jump in, and my sales guys, I'm training on a new sales guy right now, so
It's good.
I don't want to blow leads. I want to teach them how to close them properly.
How many people do you have in your education?
I got 6 coaches. I used to have 2 salespeople, laid off 1, so 1 sales guy can handle most of the stuff right now. But no, it's just been fun. Like, we have a goal of going all across the country, because there's not really too many like companies out there. There used to be Rich Dad Poor Dad in Canada. They had a national presence. Wealth Genius is pretty big. They're in most of the major cities. There's, Keyspire, they're fairly big. But yeah, we just want to be able to impact thousands of people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you kind of find your tribes, right?
And do it right. Like I'm not doing this for the money. We're actually doing it for the bigger opportunities, like the development opportunities, the connections, all that kind of stuff in the future.
And you kind of got to, again, curate your tribe of people, right? You get the right tribe of people, that's everything. So I still work with Keyspire. I've been working with Scott since 2013.
Cool.
And it's been really neat to watch him adapt over the years too, because I mean, they shut everything down, and then what that looked like, and what the landscape of investor education looks like. And I think there's a place for all kinds of different people to be out there. So.
Definitely. How much stronger? I think the math is you want to do like, okay, for every month I hold it, we'll actually get that uptick in the market. If you wait for a year, will it be worth you just having all the holding costs and sitting on it? If you lose 20 grand in a year by having a vacant unit, it will be worth 50. It's nobody has a crystal ball.
No, for sure.
Right? So.
Well, if we keep doing what we're doing with the farmers division, and like I said, if we come in and take over and then turn this to London, then yes. But you got other opportunities for bigger developments and other things you can do too, right? So
that's right.
I do see, I genuinely see that happening, where now London is pretty much like Kitchener, and then this is probably what London was when I got started, and I could see the puck coming here too, because great employment, the stuff that I'm selling on Lakeshore, a few off-market listings that I'm working on right now too, to pay attention to who the avatar is and who's buying those. I'm finding a lot of athletes and people that have a ton of money that actually fly out of Detroit, don't want to live in London because it's further. They would actually prefer to be here, jump over to the States for a lot of the training and flying, the stuff that they have to do there too. And it's very underrated, in my opinion, for what you can get value-wise here.
Definitely.
Because you make the transition up the coast and you see people coming down the highway, right? So there's like St. Thomas is going to get gobbled up into the GLA, I call it, the Greater London area. But Sarnia is its own entity, and I still think there's tons of room for development.
Yes, we're definitely, my friends make fun of me that we're barely in Canada, but it is true.
You're more Canadian than Windsor, though, because Windsor is like as American as a Canadian city can get, right?
Well, even parts of Windsor, you drive around, you kind of feel like you're in parts of Detroit. There's just parts of it that just, they should just tear down some of the houses.
We're big fans of Sarnia. Like I said, we spend a lot of time down here anyways. We come down I go to Sunripe all the time. I'm getting my groceries there tonight, right? And we come down once a week minimum for just work and some collaborations we do down here. But
yeah,
I'm a fan. A good friend of mine is Glenn Dawson, who owns a law firm around here too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they own one of the plazas down there too. And I almost bought, there was a building actually just over there that I almost bought for an office 3 or 4 years ago that came up for sale. I was telling my wife, like, we need it. But now it's interesting to see the hybrid and the work from home kind of model and what that looks like. So our head office is located where it's located because it covers the entire territory, and all of our agents come in from, call it an hour in all directions. And I do like the in-person stuff because there's something about belly to belly you just don't get anywhere else. But our expansion markets, we're still on the fence, because I ask agents, I'm like, do you want an office? They're like, no. Because if I'm at the office all the time, I'm not actually selling, right? They want the flexibility of going up north, working from wherever they are. But I like the belly to belly stuff quite a bit.
That's important, man. So we own a triplex just past the light here. Kind of an interesting deal. Put it together with a vendor take back.
Okay.
Low rents. Every unit when we got it, we just slowly waited for people to leave, renovated the units. We've had a good double on that one. Now 3 furnished units in there, we're getting, what are we getting per month now? Almost $6,000 a month for a triplex for rents in Sarnia.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and the upper loft is great.
What do you think the premium is on a medium-term rental versus, say, a long-term rental? Do you get 10% more?
Like $500 to $800 more per month in rent.
That's pretty impressive, because if you capitalize that at 5%, that's a significant amount of money.
Yeah, it's this guy right here. It doesn't look like anything much from the road with the weird siding, but it's actually got like a 300-foot deep lot, which is interesting.
Good cladding on the side too. It's a good-looking building.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you a different question, actually. How you think about how you see the way in one thing, you see the way in everything. So how, obviously, financial literacy outside of just real estate factors into all the decisions you make from a business perspective. Like, what was your journey like when it came to financial literacy?
Yeah, I guess being young, like we grew up, I'm sure with a lot of people watching this video, we didn't have a lot, single income family. And my parents had to talk with me at a young age. I remember, I think it was in grade 5, and I was upset that there's some kids in the class that had some of the first Air Jordans, right? And I had to buy the Brooks for $38. And they just said, look, we'll always provide you with the basics. And if you want more, you got to find out a way to make the difference. So started just finding ways to make money, but not just trading your time for money. It was like, doing piecework, or you get the thing done, you get paid. So the quicker you get it done, the quicker you make money.
Okay, like go rake my leaves.
Yeah, or build these bikes. I remember I was working at Kmart when there still was Kmart in Canada, and I was like, hey, I'd like to build bike. I have bikes. I work on bikes. Like, can I build the bikes here instead of you guys hiring an outside firm? And they're like, well, yeah, we pay these. I think it was like $15 a bike. We pay this firm $15 a bike. I'm like, would you pay me that if I could build them? And they're like, yeah, we can give you the same rate. So I could do 4 an hour. And like,
pretty decent.
15, 20 years ago, like $60 an hour.
Money.
Yeah, like
$3.75 was my first job.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it probably wasn't much more than that when I was more tasseling, but yeah. So when you can learn not to just trade your time for money, but when you can just provide more value or service, or learn how to work for sales or commission or those kinds of things. But I guess I just always look at it like, literally today I got a phone call from a boiler tech. He's like, look, looked at the boiler at the property. We could service it. The service call is gonna be $500. We could replace the part. It's gonna be $1,200. Totally new boiler is gonna be $8,000 to $10,000. Or you could rent a unit for $40 to $60 a month. And I'm thinking, you know what? He's like, I think this part keeps breaking down because you've got galvanized pipes and stuff, and the in-floor heat's all galvanized. It's 1950s house. So I just replaced this part 3 years ago.
Probably cost you a couple grand then too.
Yeah, it was over $1,000.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking, I usually don't like to rent things, but I'm like, so if I rent this, then all the service call, everything's taken care of in the future. And I did the math on the repair, so I'll have about 30 months of free rental before I'd even get through the cost of the repair. And beyond that, I just wouldn't have to. Yeah, it's an $8,000 to $10,000 investment that's probably going to break down again anyways. So
Yeah.
So usually it's always about income and expenses, and I think everybody has the things that they like to spend money on, but if you can save money on other parts of life, it's important.
Sure.
You know, so what they say, like, you know, rich people know how to make money, they know how to save money, and sometimes people make fun of wealthier people because they can be cheap, but like, choose your battles. Like, be cheap about certain things, groceries or sundries or things you go through a lot of, but don't cheap out on the experiences, don't cheap out on the memories, the things that you actually
ask for the discount, but don't spend 4 hours of your time saving $20 on an airline ticket too, when in reality, you know, your 4 hours of your time is probably worth more than that, right?
Totally right. Your time is important.
But it's fun to be part of it. You get caught up in that because you like the game, right? And I can do the exact same thing too. You get into negotiations over something. You know, 3 days later, you haven't solved the thing that you're trying to actually solve for, right?
That's right.
So in the same vein, I asked you a question, obviously, about the financial literacy piece, right? Because I think it matters to train your brain to think a certain way and be financially literate and understand how to actually write a pro forma. Because a lot of investors, in my opinion, in the last 5 years, were not actually investors. They were day trading real estate or gambling, in my opinion, right? Just what I saw happening in the real estate investment market. That's why we like to fly under the radar of what we do.
That's right. And you know, the best thing about owning those condos is when you get a feasibility study from the condo, it makes you think about your properties over a 10 or 20 year period.
Sure.
That's been super helpful, and that's how I actually teach real estate investors on how to underwrite their properties. You got to throw everything at it and the kitchen sink, because you're going to have your capital upgrades, you're going to have your expenses, you're going to have the whammies that, you know, a furnace, an air conditioner, a roof eventually, or whatever. You got to budget for these things, but you don't learn this stuff in school for sure. I literally had somebody who worked at TD Bank. I had to teach her how to send an e-transfer. I had to write a check, and like, you know, she owns a house now, which is great, but it's just amazing.
There's basics. I think financial
is.
literacy, and I also think jiu-jitsu should be wrestling should be mandatory in schools, because I think kids need to go through a little bit of adversity. I think people are addicted to instant gratification.
A lot of adversity, man. A lot of adversity.
Yeah, for sure. The one piece though, so health and wellness, I know you have a crazy background. Just give you a little bit of a snapshot of your background in that space, and how do you think of your mental and physical health and how it relates to operating and growing a business?
Sure. So I used to be a national level Olympic style weightlifter. You know, worked my way up from the regional ranks to provincial ranks to national ranks. So it was national level for 7 years. You know, back before it was cool, like nobody really knew about it. Everybody thought I was a wrestler, because it started with a W. We wore a singlet.
And you wore a singlet, right?
That's right. But you know, I think you just realize, and you don't always make the weight, right? So you learn how to deal with failure. You don't take it personally. It's actually feedback, and usually our balance error is about an inch and a half. So if you're front or back, like, you're gonna drop the weight. You just can't fight it. So. But it also teaches you how to, you know, when things are on the line and you got to make that pressure lift or talk or sail or whatever it might be, like, you get used to it because you got so many reps in the bank that have counted, you know, because you only get 3 lifts, and if you miss 3 of them, like, you're out of the contest. So same with high jump, same with shot put, same with all those other kinds of, you know, sports, right? So it really teaches you that everything matters. But you also got to have fun, right? Lots of camaraderie and, you know, the power of working out or being in a group dynamic with other people. Even though it was an individual sport, there's still a lot of camaraderie there when it comes to things, right? So,
which I think helps too. I mean, you're competitive, and a lot of times you can feel lonely in whatever you do in your business, but
yes.
also the camaraderie in the industry that you're in.
Yeah, we own that one there too. So,
one of some of the best people I learned from are people that would be deemed my competitors, but I also realize that there's enough out there for all of us. One question though, because we're in kind of a similar age bracket, as you realize that we're not 22 anymore.
Yes.
How are you looking at longevity? Like, what are you doing to maintain a healthy lifestyle now that you think could help some people watching this?
Yeah, so I think it's important. I mean, sleep is very underrated.
Yeah.
I've always slept well. And, before COVID, starting in 2019, I started tracking my sleep hours. I had a Fitbit. Now I've got these Oura rings that give you all the data. So I think it's important for people. There you go, Whoop Band. Yep. I won't get a Whoop Band because of the monthly membership cost, but
I should probably pay attention to it.
Yeah. But I think it's important, work hard, but work out hard, but recover harder.
Yeah.
And
that's what nutrition, sleep, kind of all different facets.
Yeah, it's the thoughts you think, the words you say, the air you breathe, the fluids you take in, the food you eat, the moves you make, actions you take. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what life is all about. And I can even remember back when I was training at the national level, I couldn't work out every single day. I could be active every single day, but I couldn't train every single day. Your nervous system needs time to recover. So I was always like a 4-day-a-week kind of person. I'm still kind of on that bandwagon. And, at this age now with kids and businesses and all that sort of stuff, I always tell people I'm looking for the most effective dose. How can I be active, get some calorie burning in, not tax the system too much, still feel, rested the next day. So it could be just a lot of lower volume activity or lower intensity activity. So I do a lot of walking and cycling and stuff now.
You sent me the video of you walking, and I was like, I smiled because I know why you do it.
Yeah, every day I walk the kids to school, and then I go for another half-hour loop. So I get my steps
people
in.
Don't understand the zone 2.
It's important.
That walking is ultra important for longevity in the long run. Have you read Live by Peter Attia?
I haven't, but I'm a big fan of Peter. I guess I got to kind of like gear up for that book. I heard it's pretty thick.
It is, but it is actually
a lot of it.
So easy to read. I'll buy you a copy of it. I would say the paperback is fantastic to have as a reference guide. His audio version of it's amazing because he reads it. So I one of those books that I would get both if I were you, but I'll send you a version of the audio book because I think you'll enjoy that while you're driving back and forth to Toronto.
Love it, man.
Yeah.
But I think, also another correlation between fitness and this is the problem property we want to let go of here. Between fitness and business or life is intensity. A lot of people don't realize the importance of intensity, like giving something your absolute all.
For sure.
You're either fully on or you should be actually more off, right? There's like in the middle or zone 3, it's kind of like junk miles. Like you don't get a lot done in zone 3 because you're not going hard enough to push the lever that much more, and you're not recovering either. You're basically wasting a lot of time.
You may as well do zone 2 or 4.
Yeah, okay. Right? And also training for running, cycling, intervals. It's like you get the growth in zone 4 and 5. Like you're literally gutting yourself to get the results. You don't need a lot of time to do it either.
How do you know if you're in zone 3 or zone 4?
Heart rate. Yeah, so I train with a heart rate strap.
And where is that zone for you? What's that heart rate?
Zone 2, I got to keep it under 140 beats,
okay.
140, 145. Yeah. And then, I know I'm in zone 4 if I'm like 160, 165, up to 185. So, yeah, too often people are just wanting to do race pace, and it's good as to simulate a race environment, but
because it feels like you're doing something, right?
Yeah, you can't.
I think work's the same thing though. The amount of people that I think just go in and check the boxes, check their emails 150 times a day and feel productive. They're not actually moving the needle forth, right? It's the same. You really have to sit down and do deep work and give it your all and do the work that you're avoiding. Like in our business, the influencer culture is disgusting, in my opinion. I got to go viral, get a brand, go viral on TikTok first, instead of like learn the market, prospect, and that's it, right?
Put out content, be consistent for sure, and
we're good. You can go back to my Broncos.
No worries, man.
Yeah, it's just you have to be consistent in whatever it is that you're doing. If you want to be an investor, what's your advantage in terms of knowledge and your connections and who's giving you deal flow? Like, are you making an effort to make the right connections, or are you just going to investor conferences to feel good about yourself that you went to another conference without actually doing the thing? Right?
That's right. You know, and people got to do the hard work. They got to do the thing that you're avoiding. You're usually avoiding it because you've never done it before. You're not comfortable doing it. You need new power team members or whatever. But you just got to put your head down and get it done.
So rapid fire, top 3 things investors are avoiding that they should be doing.
Maybe in the past they haven't been doing proper due diligence. I think that's obviously coming back with conditions now, which it's very important. I always tell people, like, man, inspect the crap out of that property. Like, you should know more about that property than the owner does, right? Especially if they're at a province, at a town owner. Gives you more leverage. Other things that people are not doing these days or haven't been doing, not paying enough attention to location or tenant quality mix. Like, you are inheriting those tenants in Ontario, and you know that should be a part of your due diligence period. Because once they're in, like, good luck trying to get them out. I just got a text message from someone that we're trying to, have them move on, and he's like, yeah, they'll take $4,800. I'm like, yeah, I guess
if you're in Toronto, that's 50.
Yeah,
50
we'd like
grand,
it
right?
to be less, but I mean, I guess he'll make that back in 5 months
Yeah.
of the new rent. So, another thing, just not being creative enough, like not turning over enough rocks, not talking to enough people, not having the right people on their team. Like, you got to work with someone like yourself, you're Justin, who is just really connected to the source. They have leads and deals that are not even going to go to the market. Treat your power team members well. It's a relationship business, right? You can't be transactional. You got to be more relationship based. So
Money.
I could keep going on, but
no, you're good.
Those are top 3 to 5.
Well, we hope you enjoyed another episode of Estates, Entrepreneurs, and Espressos. If you like the format and the behind the scenes, let us know in the comments. Make sure to leave a rating and review on Apple or Spotify if you are listening to the audio podcast. If not, make sure to head over there and subscribe so you don't miss any future episode. This is a Prime People production. This is the Estates, Entrepreneurs, and Espressos versions, which is very similar to Comedians in Cars drinking coffee. To just show you a little bit more, the video podcast is on YouTube. But if you're interested in more content like this, the audio podcast has hundreds of back episodes with people like Ryan Sirhan, Scott McGilvery, and many, many more. But for now, appreciate you being here and part of the Prime Nation, and we'll see you on the next one.